Hey everybody, welcome back. This is a very special segment of Holy Metal that I am so very excited to bring to you. I'm joined today by three amazing musicians. We have CJ, Maggie, and Lulu from GFM, Gold, Frankincense, and Myrrh. Ladies, how you doing tonight?
We are good. We just were recording and writing some new music, so that was fun.
Ooh, awesome. Well, I'm going to be asking about it. I almost wore my cheerleading uniform for this interview tonight, but decided to back out at the last second. I'm sorry, I had to. I've already lost half my audience, I'm sure. But I want to get right into it. You guys are about to hit the road with bands like Static X and Islander, and you just wrapped up a tour with Fozzy recently, right?
Yes.
How was that? I mean, what was maybe some of your favorite parts of the tour or not so favorite parts of the tour? Give us the scoop.
It was such a learning moment for us, and so while it was probably one of the most fun tours we've ever been on, it was also a very informative tour, and so it really impacted just our career and our journey as GFM. And everyone that was a part of that tour was very helpful and kind and genuine, and it was so nice and refreshing to meet such genuine people in the industry that have made it and are such a big name as Fozzy. And to have everyone on that team be so inviting and welcoming was such a breath of fresh air, but also just a phew, okay, we got this. But it was super fun, and we got to play states that we've never played before. We got to play main cities like New York City and LA, and
we went all the way up to Maine. We've never been to Maine before.
It was absolutely wild that we got to play these places, and our fans that used to drive 4 hours or 8 hours to come see us got to drive 8 minutes, and they were like, "You're here in my city, this is amazing." And so it was so fun. We got to meet so many people, and we even had someone fly from Australia to LA because they're like, "This is the closest we've ever been." And we were like, "Oh my word, what in the world?" But it was just so incredible, and it's a tour that we will always remember forever. And we're so grateful that we got the opportunity and that Chris had us on, and we got to learn and just open up for Fozzy. It was absolutely incredible.
I love that. It sounds like there were a lot of firsts on the tour then. And so I want to ask, if you guys could open a show or play a show with any artist, who would you choose?
Oh, it's so difficult. I feel like every time we're asked this question, we always give a different answer because there's so many artists that we would love to open for.
I think because on the tour, we were asked that a lot, and I came to this kind of little cool tour if we opened for Kitty and Slipknot, because a lot of people compare us to them. So I was like, I feel like it'd be really cool just to learn from them and also have this kind of family or vibe going on, because everyone says we're like Kitty, which is because they're all girls and they play in a band. They're very that in your face, and Slipknot has very show wise, and they're family oriented fans where they just really dive into make sure they have their community is safe, and they give a lot to their community. So it's just a cool kind of
I have a new answer, and it's because I saw her on TikTok and I was like, that would be so cool. Avril Lavigne. Imagine opening for Avril. She is. I saw her concert, and she's going more of the rock style. I did not know she was going more of the rock style right now. She was going crazy, and her crowd was going crazy. I was like, I want to open up for Avril Lavigne.
That'd be cool.
That would be awesome. I want to open for Avril Lavigne, and I don't even play music, so I totally get it.
I think, I don't know, going back to the TikTok thing, I saw Machine Gun Kelly goes on a helicopter in the middle of his shows, on top of his fans. So I think that would be a really cool show to be a part of.
I love it. Well, seeing as this is a Christian metal show, and the whole goal being very ministry minded, right, to just spread the influence of the music to everyone who's interested in listening, I want to touch on something. I've said before on the show many times that Christian metal is very unique because historically speaking, it's never really had a home. It's either been looked at in secular metal communities as being kind of a joke, or, on the flip side, you have some churches that just thought it was an abomination. And so really this is a question I enjoy asking everyone I have on this show. What really brought you guys to a place where you were looking to pursue rock and metal with the outlook of faith that you have?
Yeah, I think it truly came from just the core of our faith and who we are as humans. And we wanted to create a space that was a welcoming environment. And we noticed that just from our own experiences, that sometimes some of the Christian communities can be very closed off and closed minded. And we wanted to, like, we loved rock music, we loved metal music, and we don't see an issue with like any of that music. Like a genre isn't bad, a genre isn't like evil or anything. Sure, there are songs that may have lyrics we don't agree with, but you could have a hymnal with bad lyrics. Like, would that make it a holy song? Or we didn't really get where they were going with that. So
Yeah.
we kind of wanted to create a just community of music that we enjoyed and let people know, like, hey, you can be a Christian and you can like this type of music, and you can be even like a young female, and like rock music and play metal music. And we wanted to create a community that was also just very open and inviting, because we have a lot of fans and people in our community that don't believe the same thing that we do. And that's okay. Like, we respect their opinions and they respect our opinions, and we are going to share our truth everywhere we go, and we believe it's the truth, so we would be very selfish to keep it to ourselves. And so we'll sit at the merch table and we'll talk to everybody and listen to everybody, but we'll never shove it down anyone's throat, because we wouldn't want that to happen to us. But it's a very like open conversation, and everyone's very respectful of it. And we even have like atheists that are one of our, like, some of our biggest fans, and they're like, we may not agree on the same thing as you, but like, we respect you and we respect them as well. And it's just a very open community, and people can be a part of something. And we think that's one of the coolest things. And it is our core. It's why we're here on this earth, is we're all Christians and we believe we're here to spread the gospel. So we're like, why not include it in what we want to do and our passion?
Yeah.
Well, God bless you guys for doing that. Openness is a word I heard you use, and I think that's so evident when you take a look at your latest EP, Framing My Perception. Got to say, this is my favorite release from you guys so far. I've been a fan for a couple of years, and this one really brings the heat. And so I want to talk about it a little bit. What did the creative process behind this release look like? I mean, did it come together relatively smoothly? It sounds like it did, but I don't know. I mean, what were kind of the background influences behind the record itself?
It was really cool because we got to incorporate a lot of new people we haven't written with yet. Our friend Blaze from 7 Day Slumber, the drummer, our other friend who's in 7 Day Slumber, Weston, he did a lot of the guitars and helped us kind of pull that out of us. Noah Henson from Pillar, he wrote with Burn Your Fears. I keep forgetting the name. We wrote with Kellen from Memphis Mayfire. He was the one that
he was
a lot of it.
He did all the mixing and stuff, and then Blaze and Weston helped produce it and everything. So even though it has such a big sound, we took kind of like a DIY approach to it, and we have our own little home studio. And so the guys from Seventh Day actually like came down and helped us in our home studio, and we were doing the guitars and stuff in a home studio, and everything was very much like DIY. We're staying up till 3 a.m. recording vocals and stuff, and like just crashing and then waking up and like trying to do it all over again and trying to like hustle and get it done within like a week.
It was very homey though. It was very like comforting, because we are used to it, and we do love, we're about to go to the studio in a few days to go to write in the studio, but there's nothing like staying at your house and just like in your comfort clothes being like, all right, let's work on it.
Yeah, you don't have to put makeup on. You don't gotta wear an outfit for like Instagram or anything.
You got PJs on.
I literally like had a line of all like my teas, my like empty water bottles, like empty cups just everywhere. And it was okay because I could just keep going and getting snacks because I was at my house. We built like a little like vocal booth thing, because I'm actually in the process of making one, but I hadn't finished it yet. And so we just had like all the road cases stacked up and threw a bunch of blankets on them, because I get very like, I can't sing and record in front of people. And so like if they would turn on, I'd be like, stop looking at me. And so we finally built something that I could like hide under and record stuff in. So it was just a very like, just, I don't know, it was a very like homey experience. It's a good way to explain it.
I love that. And in looking at this record, I think one of the things I love most about your music is that you have this very unique ability to paint a picture of just the different challenges and sometimes curveballs that life throws at us. But ultimately, you focus on the positive. you're able to kind of pour all of the negative energy that accompanies those experiences into the brighter side of it all, and something that we can use to sort of traverse through these problems. I mean, you guys paint pictures of gospel truths in ways that I think very clearly resonate with people. I want to know what kind of responses you've gotten from listeners and fans. I mean, how has your music affected people? And in turn, as the artists who are creating it, how has some of their stories affected you?
So we like to keep our music very universal and positive message. We can play in more places that are, it's more generally accepted. So up front, our mission more is Offstage, but I feel like that gives us a lot of freedom to write about situational wise in situations we've been in, like with Bones recently. That's one of our biggest songs, and it was our first time writing about something where it was anger. And I feel like a lot of people get stuck, especially in the Christian music industry, is that we have to write this overcoming song and it's positive message and we can do it together, and but a lot of people don't write about the like before. What's the before? And it's okay to have those feelings. Like, you want to explain Bones real quick to give some more context?
Yeah, so that song is just written about like being in a relationship with toxic people, and whether they're like romantic relationships or friendships or even like parental relationships or family relationships, and you're giving up everything for this person, and then they decide to leave, and so all your ties have been cut off from everybody and you're just left by yourself. And so it's the anger and the betrayal that comes with that. And we did feel like for a while, at least the people that we knew in the Christian community were like, oh well, you can't, like, that is, you can't express that. And we're like, anger is a real emotion. Jesus experienced anger. He flips tables. Like, it is okay to be angry, but you also like don't sin in your anger. And so that's why we write music, like you said, to have that positive outlook at the end of it. And if we can write something that helps somebody express those feelings, and it can be an outlet for that anger, and it can help them get rid of those feelings, that's why we do it. And we've had people like, after talking with us on live streams or talking to us at the show, understanding what the songs are about, they're like, you don't understand, like, I didn't know the story behind the song, but this helped me get through this situation, or this has helped me like pull me out of a dark place, and I haven't had, like, I'm not able to say that about a lot of bands. And so just hearing those stories and stuff like that, it really just encourages us, because that's why we're doing it. And there are times when we're like, is this even worth, like, are we like even doing what God wants us to do anymore? And then we'll get a message the same day saying something like along those lines, and it's just like, okay, yeah, this is still what we're supposed to be doing. This is God's calling for us still.
So great. I've spoken with bands too that have said the most fruit that they've seen in that regard definitely comes off stage. Would you say the same for you guys as well?
Yeah, definitely. And because you can get caught up in being like on stage and performing and people screaming and like the songs and stuff and everything, but at the end of the day, if that's what you're focusing on, it will never be enough, because there will always be a bigger crowd to play to, a bigger stage, more people listening, like, and the game is never over then. And so if
that void is only Jesus.
You can't fill anything with that except for God. And that's something we've had a lot of conversations with each other about, just reminding ourselves, and even like just calling each other out and be like, okay, we need to get our focus back on this. This is not like, don't make this a numbers game. Don't make this about like yourself. This is not something for fame. This is to help people, and it's to spread the gospel. And if we can be that shoulder to cry on for somebody, that's why we're doing that. And so I think that's, having that communication has really helped us.
And I think that on stage, we don't want to get wrapped up into the very emotional and experience, because that's what music does to you. So sometimes you can make decisions when you're in a concert, but you're not even really there, or you don't understand, like you get wrapped up in something. It's a very euphoric experience. And so when we're off stage and there's no music and it's just one-on-one,
it's real.
Yeah, it's real, and it helps people kind of process it more, and not them just getting wrapped up in something and kind of like, oh, I'm a Christian now because the guy said I raised my hand, and he said if you want to get saved, whatever. So it's like, do they even know what they're getting themselves into? And so I think off stage, we're having like major theological discussions with like general market shows too, like people asking, well, what does gold, frankincense, and myrrh means, which is our band name if anyone doesn't know, or like, well, what were you saying on stage, or what about this? And like, we're having major discussions, and we get to hand out Bibles from our full King James Bibles from our table. We have little tracts if people are interested. And so I feel like that makes more of connection, a personal and more kind of like you're giving a full presentation instead of just let's get wrapped up into it, like not bashing on anyone that does that. It's just from our kind of what we want to do.
Yeah, we also get to listen to so many stories, and as long as we're able to and safely like we can, we want to be able to go to the merch table and stay till the last person's gone. And we've been able to not only just be there like faith-wise and be able to share our faith, but sometimes people just need someone to listen to. And so it's not always a like slip your faith in and like, oh, how can I sneak it in there? Like we truly do just want to be that person to listen to them. And if it is just an area where they just want to speak and vent and just release stuff that they've had built up in them, we are able to be that person for them as well, which we really appreciate that trust for them, because some of these people are like, I don't know why I'm trusting you, I just feel like I can. And we appreciate that, and we don't ever take that for like advantage, because it's so special that they feel that safe with us. And so yeah, sometimes it's just being that person to listen to them and either give them some advice just from personal experience or just like biblical experience. But yeah, it's not something that we try to like, oh, how can we sneak it in? Like, how can we go like find our way? We truly just let God bring the conversations up. And if it's something that comes up, we talk about it. And if not, like we just have fun with that person and talk with them. And sometimes it's simply just a smile and it makes their day. And you really don't like realize that how much a hug or a smile or just a like, hey, thanks for being here means to someone. And it truly could change their life.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm blown away by your answer. And yeah, I mean, like I always say, I think Job's friends had it right for the first few days, and then they spoke. So, I mean, sometimes that really is all it is. It's all it takes to be there for someone, is to just be there and be that space for them. This next question, in the same vein of this wonderful discussion, is a little bit more philosophical. I'm going to try to keep it, light, but I am curious. The world today has so many mixed messages. I mean, all it takes is really opening up your phone and going on social media. So many messages regarding identity and how to find, a source of lasting joy in the world. And clearly, young people are struggling. I know I read about a week ago, a recent poll just revealed that the number of Americans who believe in God is at its lowest ever. It's 81% throughout the country. And I'm curious, to get your three very unique perspectives, just as three young women in this genre. What is your message to young men and women who might be struggling right now to find, to find a sense of identity and happiness in this world?
For sure. I think that a lot of people, when they listen to the topic of, well, I'm struggling to find my identity, it's always with gender or with something other than like a simple what the main reason is, and it's like identifying with Christ. And I know it's like, oh, that's such the Christian answer, but it really is, because that is the main focus point. And people who are Christians but yet they don't know their own faith are struggling even more with other people who don't believe in Jesus with their identity. We played one of the biggest eye-opening things to happen to us when we played Life Fest was we stood in line, and not exaggerating and not being like, oh, look at us, we stood in line for 7 hours. We got them playing at like 1 something, and we played another show at 10. And so we stood for a good 7 hours talking to people. We talked to probably 1,000 people. And it was 1 out of every 5 people struggled with suicide, self-harm, have been into like a, not like a psych ward, but
like a mental institution.
A mental institute, or have it attempted several times. And that this was a Christian festival. So if you are identifying with something that you don't even know what you're identifying with, that's going to cause a lot of these issues. Because if we're promised peace and security, then why is it lacking so much in the Christian community? And it's because that they're told all of this kind of like you just have to believe, you just have to have enough faith, but yet there's no substance to it. Like, do you know what the gospel is? Could you even explain through the Bible how to get saved, not just what a prayer or a pastor told you or what you learned in Sunday school or on TV? Do you know like major stories through the Bible? Do you know the prophecies that can conclude how Christianity is like the only faith and the only religion that is right? You know that Revelation 19:10 says the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus. Like that's why Jesus is came to fulfill according to scriptures. And like there's so much more depth and faith to our beliefs, but yet the church isn't teaching these children. And not just children, we were talking to adults. Like men were coming and crying to us about how they were sorry that they were committing, or like they failed in committing suicide because they failed us. And we were like assuring him, like, do not say that you failed us. Like, we are glad that you are here. And it's just a lot of like, well, all those young kids, they don't know how to identify. Like, well, no, like the older people have the same struggle. They're just not willing to have the accountability to understand they're struggling with the same thing. Yeah. A lot of, like, through the whole Bible, there's a bunch of stories of the same thing, of identifying through people running away from their situation. We just wrote a song on self-destruction, and that's another major thing of just running away from a situation that you need to deal with. But you're just hurting yourselves and not coming to terms of what you need to deal with and how to fix things, and you're just hurting yourselves in the process. So I think it all boils I think it all boils down to, like, if you're struggling with, well, who am I? What is my purpose? Try truly diving into Christianity and seeing the depths of it, because it allows you to stop looking at yourselves and now you're looking at others. How can I help others? Because if you see the main reason why we're here is to win people to Christ, build them up in the faith, and to send them out to do the same thing, because we're going to be judged for that. We have a responsibility to reach people, and that really helps with self-pride and self-hate, because we don't have time to look at ourselves. I don't have time to wonder, well, my social media is not doing well, or I have such an awful life, I didn't get this, but this person got this, and everything's so unfair, when we don't have enough time to look at ourselves. We have to look at others, because we have to love others. But what were you gonna say, Lou?
I think another issue from so I'm 18, and we've talked to people all the way up to like 85 years old. Like, we have so many elderly people coming, and then all the way to like 4-year-old people coming. And as someone who has dealt with mental health issues before, I think one of the biggest issues is a void, and it's trying to fill that void with as much as you can to kind of distract yourself. Mm-hmm. Because when you're in those moments of like trying to identify yourself and identify why you're here and what your purpose is, and you're trying to identify the balance of life and the balance of work and the balance of fun, you start to stress yourself out, and it can create this cycle of anxiety and depression, and it can lead to like a circling thoughts of like, I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And so you start to try to distract yourself and fill that void of like emptiness and loneliness and purpose. You try to stuff it full of, well, let me try this and see if this works. And it might help for a little bit, it might help for a year or two. Like, mm-hmm. A lot of people like to say like, oh, the void's like never filled. Sometimes it truly does feel filled with stuff for a while. And that's how the devil can work in very tricky ways, because he can make things seem like, oh, like this actually did work. Like, they were lying. This actually makes me feel a lot better. But it truly does wear out, and it doesn't fill it. It doesn't satisfy you fully. And so trying to fill that void with whatever it is, there's so many things that, as simple as like watching TV to as extreme as sex problems. Like it truly is a void that can be filled with anything, but the only thing that will satisfy it, that I truly found, and like from personal experience, was a relationship with Christ. Not even a religion, not even church service, truly diving into a relationship with Jesus Christ and finding out what that means for you. Because yes, the Bible points out like what a relationship with Christ is and who God is and what all that is, but you can know that and you can not have a relationship with God. There is a big difference between knowing all the facts and knowing scripture and not applying it to your life, and knowing who God is but not being with God. And a lot of people will say like, oh, but I don't know how to like talk to God, I don't know how to create that relationship. It truly is just a friendship. It's a respect for God, it's a learning for God, like trying to learn about God and trying to invest yourself in him and see like why, like Cito was saying, why are you a part of this faith? Why are you like choosing to be with this? Because trying to fill that void with church, trying to fill that void with religion isn't going to stick. It's that relationship with Christ that will stick and truly satisfy it. And again, I'm only saying it from personal experience, because I wouldn't say like, oh, a relationship with God helps, if I was still over here like, all right, well, now what else do I fill it with? Like, I truly do believe
And
that
it's
it's
biblical
what
too.
like fully satisfied that void. And it's hard. It's not easy to be like, okay, well, I have the relationship with God. Okay, oh well, like now I'm gonna go do this. It is making time for God. You're not gonna just have time for God, because that's easy, and Satan doesn't want it to be easy. He's obviously going to distract you with TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and this newest podcast just came out, and it's like, oh, I finally found like 20 minutes that I can spend with God, but I just got a notification that this new thing just happened, so I'll do it later. And so it's not finding time for God, it's making time for God, and it's making sure that you spend time with him, however that is. It doesn't have to be in the morning, it doesn't have to be at night. It can be your timing with God, and that's truly what a relationship is. You don't call someone up and like, hey, for 45 minutes every morning I'm going to call you, and then I'm not going to speak to you for the rest of the day. Like, that's not a relationship. And so it's just constant like contact with God, like throughout the day. Like, hey God, I'm about to go do an interview, like just be with us, let it go well, let us have fun. Like it truly is just that bond with God. And I think that truly helped me, and I know that the girls can like clarify that it helped them as well. And talking with people is something that I always encourage, is like dive into the word and find your relationship with God. Find what works best for you and lines up biblically. Find what works best for your relationship, because what works for me might not work for CJ, might not work for Maggie, you know? Someone might like to spend more time with God in the morning. Someone might like to spend more time with God in the car on the way to their job because they only have 5 extra minutes. But hey, instead of listening to their favorite song, they're going to talk to God. And it's just making those small like adjustments and making time for God. Because if you were in a relationship, would you just give them the leftovers? Like, that wouldn't go well. They would feel neglected. And so it's seeing God as that, seeing God as a relationship, and making sure you make time for him, because no one wants leftovers. Like, that, we wouldn't want leftovers, so why would you give someone else leftovers?
Yeah, I think to add on to that and what today is saying, I think a lot of people who struggle with figuring out what their identity is struggle with comparing to other people and trying to make sure that they match up to what is the most popular person on Instagram is doing. I need to make sure my life is doing this, and I need to have the most expensive things that they have. And then you run into money trouble, and then you run into chasing, and like that chase never ends. And you know, it can be financially, it can be with a job, it can be with fame, it can be with relationships, romantically, love,
never being satisfied.
Yeah, and it never stops. And like they were saying, the only thing that can, you know, fill that is a relationship with Christ. And you know, it takes time. And you know, that's why people take breaks from social media, because you have to find yourself, and you have to, you know, really work on yourself. And you can't do that if you're constantly comparing yourself to other people. And if you're saying, well, they have this better life than I do, who cares? Like, are you them? No. And like, that's why you're struggling with your identity, because you're trying to be 5 billion other people. Like, you know, like
highlights.
There's only one you. So why would you try to be somebody else? You know? And I think that's what a lot of the issue as well. It's just because there's so much trying to be other people, and you know, you can only be yourself. And so it's important to really take time and set it aside and figure out, you know, what makes you happy? What things are you interested in? Does this line up with what God wants? Is this a way that I can use, you know, my interest in ministering to other people and helping other people? We've been blessed to figure out, oh, we all like music, so we can do a band and we can reach people in that way, and we can help people that way. But we know people who are nurses. We know people who love to like crochet and knit, and they do stuff and it helps open doors in that way. And so, you know, it's finding areas that you feel like you can excel in and you are safe in, and figuring out how to use that for other people as well, and help, like they were saying, helping other people and ministering to them. But
Wow, so much great stuff to digest there. I want to be GFM when I grow up. I know that one common thread here was that busyness can sometimes, you know, if you spend all your time preoccupied with what's next or just comparing yourself to other people, it's exhausting. It really is. And I think all of us to a certain level have experienced that. And I have to ask, I mean, how is it that with the schedules you guys have, you are able to keep yourselves spiritually fed? I mean, what are some things you do on tour, off tour, just to make sure that that's the case, because clearly it shows, but I just have to know.
I think for me personally, I am a listener. Reading is great, and I love reading, but my brain starts to go, okay, read. What if I'm doing this later? And then it like goes on all these like rabbit trails. And so for me, I found finding church services on YouTube that I listen to, just like past ones. Like this church has been going on for years, so I have plenty of ones to pick from. So if we're loading in, I'll pop an AirPod in and just put one on, and I'll go in and out. And sometimes I catch a majority of it. Sometimes I catch a few words here or there, but it truly is those words. I'm like, oh, hey. Like later that night, I'm like, oh my word, when I was listening to that service, it said to do this, and I'm going to imply that now into my life. And so it's just, for me personally, like loading in and out, or over here at the house, like when I wake up, instead of putting on a YouTube video to watch food, to eat food, like eat breakfast, I'll put on a church service and just listen along with it. And it keeps my attention, and the preacher's really good. He's funny. And so like I stay focused on it, but it also is feeding me spiritually in a way that works best for me.
Yeah. And I think, that is something that we struggle with from time to time. And, even recently we had to have a conversation, because it's like you get to the point where you're burnt out, and it's just like all your entire focus is on, okay, what's next for GFM? We need to be doing this for GFM. We need to do this for GFM. And you lose yourself, and it becomes, this is GFM instead of this is Maggie, CJ, Lulu. And I think, having those conversations is really important, which is something that we've always, really supported, and having family conversations and figuring those things out together. And then when we're home, we're able to, go to a church as a family. And, this isn't GFM going to church. This is our family going to church. And, GFM stays at the house. And, this is just you and your time with God, and you are just Maggie at church. You are just Lulu at church. You're just Cedar at church. There's nothing that you can bring to the table for God. Yeah. Like, you can't earn anything. This is just like all flaws, no filters, like everything just completely exposed there. And I think that has helped a lot, just to be able to go and, be present with God. And aside from like the spiritual things, we try to always do stuff as a family as well now. We're really trying to put an effort into making sure, okay, well, we're busy, but let's set aside time. Let's just go watch a movie. We went and watched the new Jurassic Park movie, just to do something as a family. And doing little things like taking a walk with our dogs, like stuff like that, just to remind yourself, like, you're a normal person. You don't have to be this person who works 24/7, and like you can take breaks, and you're allowed to be a family. I think that's something that's helped us.
Yeah. I mean, having a support system is so crucial to anything, and not just from the band. I mean, from any situation, from any job. And you could be having the most free time and not being super stressed, but if you don't have your core group of people that are going to keep you accountable, you're going to find yourself into a mess anytime. It's not not if, it's a when. And we say that a lot. So
that was well timed.
With Maggie and Lulu, we have, and I don't say this as like, well, I'll just say, and then you can kind of explain. Like, I pride myself, and not pride. I'm proudful of like our group and how it's such, like, they allow me to make mistakes and not be so overbearing. Like, I can't believe you did that. Mm-hmm. But it was, I can come to y'all when a situation, and it's not judgmental.
It's a judgment.
It's like
and it's also
you did this wrong, but we're gonna learn from it.
We're gonna hold you accountable. We're gonna be there for you.
I told you so.
Yeah.
Because feeling belittled when you realize that you did something wrong is the worst feeling ever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it's just literally showing God's love. Like, who are we to tell CJ like she's wrong? Who are they to tell me, like, who are we to tell all these people, like, oh, you did this wrong and I told you so? And it's like, so you want God to do that to you? Like, you go up to God and they're like, hey God, I'm sorry for this, like, your entire life is full of sin. Like, you expect him to just be like, oh, it's okay, but then you go and don't show the other person mercy. So
so it's just, and that took years of maturing in our faith, maturing and being sisters and being friends and caring for each other, and seeing how our words can affect others, even though we didn't mean it that way. What can we do better in the situation? So it goes both ways. If you want to expect respect and forgiveness, you have to give that as
you
well.
should be willing to offer it, yeah.
So that's a
So
big
yeah,
thing.
support system is very important.
I love that. Yeah, when we get to heaven, it's not going to be "I told you so." It's "Oh God, you told me so," and I felt no, I love that. That is about all the time we have for tonight. Again, I just want to really plug this this next leg of the tour for you guys, and end with one final question. Do you have any goals for this next tour? What are some of the next steps for the band, if you wouldn't mind sharing?
I'm sure we have like a whole bunch of list of goals, but I think what really hit for these next ones coming up is to be present for me. And I felt like the shows were kind of getting into motion. Like we load in, we play, we do whatever, and then we try to find food, and then we pack up, and then we leave. And I just want to be present for the next runs and for the Fozzy run in the fall, and just really try to look for individual areas where I can be like more of a light. So like if we go out to eat before the show, it's like, well, can I ask the waitress, hey, is there anything I can pray for you about? Or ask the stage hands, like, hey, are you okay? Can I pray for you? And just like finding little things like that, because that is way more important than like materialistic things or trying to find time to relax before the show or get your head in the game kind of thing. And so I felt like I lost that a lot, and because I thrive off like rhythm, so just trying to be more present.
Yeah, I think that, and also just being a difference in the community, because a lot of these venues we go into, people aren't used to just being smiled at and just being spoken to like a human, and a lot of people expect
I was literally gonna say that,
like bands to come in and to act as a band, which is already like the fact that that's a thing, is like the band to act as a band, is we want to make sure we're different. We want to make sure that we come in with like full humility and are just there to smile and be people with people. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're so like self-righteous to like do all that. And it's like, call us what you want, but I want to be a difference. Like I want to go in there. I don't care what people say about me. I want to speak with people, and I want to make them smile, and I want to be a difference so that people go home feeling better. And whether it's the workers or the fans that come or the other bands, like I want to be a difference. And I think that's always been our band's goal, and we've strived to be that difference. And there are tough nights, because there's nights where something happened before you go on stage, you're already agitated, and someone knocks something over, and you're like, I'm gonna kill someone. But it's like, it's still being that difference, maybe slightly little bit, but it's still just that small difference of like, all right, you know what, it happens.
Yeah, I think also with these next few like runs that we're doing, we're starting to play a completely new set, and we're starting to add new music into it. And we always take a section of the show and talk about our belief, talk about our faith in Jesus. And when we create a new set, it's up to me to create like the new like area that I'm going to speak about. And so I really do want to have something impactful to say. And I feel like usually we do a pretty good job as a band in doing that, but I always want to make sure when we create something new that it's something God would have me say to the people, and something that would really speak volumes and get through to people, especially those who are the most like have hardened hearts and stuff. If it's something that I say on stage that makes them go, oh, I never thought about it that way. That's something that I've always just really been praying to God about, especially with this new music, because we feel like this new music that we put out with Frame and Perception is so powerful. And we really tried to dig deep and just make the messages very raw. And so I think, I want to be able to have a kind of just section where we really just speak about that from stage. And so just trying to make sure to say all the right words.
Well, hey, I just read Matthew 10 today, and there Jesus is getting ready to send his disciples out, kind of like a tour, like Israel tour. And, he's telling them,
the Israel tour.
Yes, the Israel tour. Let's make it happen. And there he says, don't worry about what you're going to say. It's going to be God speaking through you. And so this question really helps me because I think this also doubles as a great prayer list. I mean, I'm going to be praying for you guys to be present, to make a difference, and to speak words that the Lord is calling you to speak. So for all the prayer warriors out there, please continue to pray for GFM as they venture out into the world and fulfill the Great Commission. So guys, I just want to thank you again so much. This has been such a blessing for me, and just being able to talk with you and exchange thoughts is amazing. So I want to thank you guys for joining us, and everyone, we will see you back here next time on Holy Metal.